In this epic movie, we will follow the stories of 6 people in 6 time periods, and on our journey, we will follow these people as their decisions affect each other's life throughout time. Our first story starts in the Pacific Islands in 1849. A lawyer named Adam Ewing has been sent by his family to arrange a contract for Maori slaves with a slave trader. He arrives at a farm to inspect it and can't take the heat. He then hears a noise, and when he follows it, he finds a slave getting whipped for misbehaving. Adam is a little terrified of what he is seeing. The heat then gets to him, and he faints on the spot. Dr. Henry, who Adam trusts, tells him he has Polynesian worm that is giving him the sickness, but we see that the doctor is actually poisoning him slowly so he can steal from him once he dies. Sometime later, while Adam is making his way back home, he meets with a runaway slave named Autua in the ship. Autua was hiding in the ship from everyone, but believed Adam could help him. Adam at first refuses, but after hearing his story decides to help him. Adam's plan was to get Autua a job as a crew member, which almost backfires as the captain was ready to kill Autua without even giving him a chance. But Autua was so good at the challenges he was given that he becomes a full member of the crew and gets his freedom. In the next few months, Adam's health further deteriorates as he keeps getting poisoned by Henry. But one night, Autua sees Henry trying to poison Adam and he intervenes. A fight breaks out which he and Adam win, and they kill Henry in the process. Throughout his journey, Adam's view on slave changes and his journal, which documented everything throughout his travel, are later published into a book which is discovered by the next character in the story. And after Adam returned home, he and his wife decide to quit the family slave trade and move east to become abolitionists. The second story continues in Cambridge in 1936. Robert Frobisher, who is an aspiring music composer, finds a job working for one of the greatest composers called Vivian. While working for Vivian, Robert Frobisher begins reading the published chronicle of Adam Ewing's journal, which he has found in Vivian's home. He never manages to finish the journal, but we see it has affected his musical composition. During his time working with Vivian, Robert also creates his own music that he calls the Cloud Atlas Sextet. But this makes Vivian jealous, as this music was better than everything he has created, so he tries to take the right from Robert, and when Robert refuses, he threatens to release Robert's big secret to the public. You see, Robert was bisexual, and he had a secret relationship with a man named Rufus. Homosexuality was illegal, so if this news comes out, it could be the end of him. So he agrees to take second place in the credit for his own work, but one night after another argument with Vivian, Robert shoots him and runs away. Robert goes into hiding, but he realizes he is going to get caught sooner or later, so Robert completes the sextet, then sends it to his lover and friend, a Cambridge student, Rufus, and then commits suicide. Years later, we see Robert's work. Cloud Atlas Sextet has been recorded into an album, and although it is an obscure recording, it has clearly affected people's lives. The third story continues in San Francisco in 1973. We follow a journalist named Louisa after a failed interview, but as she is returning from her interview, she meets with an old Rufus in the elevator. They don't say much to each other, but things change when the elevator stops working midway and they get stuck in it for hours. While they wait for the elevator to get fixed, the two get to talk and learn about each other. Louisa is a daughter of a legendary journalist who had risked his life for his sources, and she is also trying to follow in his footsteps. Rufus, seeing she is a person to be trusted, later attempts to recontact her and reveal that there is a conspiracy to cover up a report about the flaws in the design of a nuclear power reactor. But after calling her to his room, he immediately gets assassinated by someone unseen. Louisa finds him dead in his bed, and he is made to look like he committed suicide, but Louisa doesn't buy it. She continues her investigation in secret and finds a report written by Rufus talking about the reactor. Along with the report, Ray also finds a collection of letters written from Robert to Rufus many years earlier, while Robert was working on the Cloud Atlas Sextet composition. As she further continues her investigation, she finds her way into the company. She gets nothing there, but a scientist named Isaac meets Louisa in secret and helps her. But before she can get the full report, the CEO of the energy company, Lloyd, sends agents to kill her, and Isaac is also killed by a bomb while he is flying with the report. Louisa gets crashed into and her car gets pushed into a river, but she survives and she gets help from Joe, who is actually the head security for Lloyd. But since Joe was saved by Louisa's father while they were in the military, he owed his life to him. Together, the two manage to take out Lloyd's henchmen, and Louisa finally publishes Rufus's report, which leads to the shutting down of the reactor. The fourth story continues in London in the year 2012. Timothy, the owner of a small publishing company, has just published a small biographical book about a local thug named Dermot. The book was not accepted well by readers, especially after a critic named Felix made fun of it. But everything changes when an angry Dermot kills Felix by throwing him off a balcony during a party. This news made him infamous, and although he is sent to prison, his book starts selling very well, and Timothy starts making good money. Few months pass by, and everything is looking up for Timothy. But one day, Dermot's friends come to his office looking for the money. Timothy has spent most of the money, and the guys give him only a few days to get them the money, so he decides to ask for it from his estranged brother. His brother then agrees to help him and tells him to a secluded hotel while he gathers the money. Timothy arrives at the hotel later that night and gets a bed for the night. But the next morning he finds out where he slept was not actually a hotel, and it was a resident home for the elderly. Timothy then tries to leave the home, but he can't as he has unknowingly signed a waiver, and without his brother's permission, he can't go anywhere. His brother purposefully sent him to the home to get rid of him, and also to get revenge for sleeping with his wife years ago. In the next few weeks, Timothy makes friends with other people that also want to escape, so he makes a plan with them, and they fake an emergency. They then steal a car and manage to escape from the home. Once he escapes, he writes a best-selling book talking about his adventures and finally reconnects with his old lover. The fifth story continues in Neo-Seoul in the year 2144. Sonmi 451, a clone bred for work in a Papasong fast food restaurant, is getting interrogated by a police officer. She starts telling her story of her day-to-day lives, and we are taken to a flashback to her days as a server. Sonmi exists only to serve food to consumers. She can't leave the restaurant and doesn't have a right like normal humans do. During her work, we see that she gets abused by customers, but nothing happens to them, and she just continues to work her job. But everything changes when one night she gets awakened from her sleeping pod by another clone named Yuna. Yuna is not like the other clones. She is rebellious, and she has been getting woken up by the manager to be used for sex, and after he has his way with her, he takes drugs and falls asleep. Yuna uses this opportunity to roam around and learn about how things really work. Yuna then awakens Sonmi, and she teaches her what she knows. Sonmi then starts questioning her purpose too. She previously believed that her existence was to serve, and once she is done, she ascends to heaven, but that doesn't seem to be true either. Sonmi doesn't do much with her information though, but Yuna gets fed up, and one day she hits a customer that was trying to assault her. This leads to her getting killed by the manager on the spot. Later that night, Sonmi wakes up from her pod and finds a man named Hae-ju. He asks her to run away with him, and without much hesitation, she joins him. Hae-ju is a commander for the resistance called Union. The group have been attempting to prove that the clones are the equal of naturally born humans and trying to save them lifetime of slavery. Hae-ju teaches her about the outside world as well as philosophy, art, and human rights. Sonmi learns pretty fast and becomes proof that the clones are capable of being more than mere slaves. He then takes Sonmi to meet the other revolutionaries. They ask her to join their revolution, but Sonmi doesn't see herself as a fighter and hesitates. They then decide to show her what ascension really means and take her to the factory where clones that have completed their jobs are killed, and then their body gets grinded in a food factory and used to feed the clones that are still alive. Sonmi is horrified by what she is seeing and immediately changes her mind. She agrees to work with the revolutionaries, knowing it means capture and death, by writing a manifesto. They capture a broadcast facility and reveal the truth, not just to all Earth, but to the off-world colonies as well. All of the revolutionaries, including Hae-ju, but except Sonmi, are killed holding off the government soldiers while she keeps broadcasting her manifesto. Back to the present, the police officer asks her why she joined the revolution, knowing that it was going to fail. She tells him that people needed to know the truth, and when he asks her what if no one believes her, she then, looking at him, tells him that someone has already believed her. Sonmi is then taken away by soldiers and gets executed. The sixth and final story continues after the fall of human civilization. Zachary is a tribesman living in a low-tech, post-apocalyptic Hawaii. It has been 100 years after Neo-Seoul has been swallowed by the sea, and his people revere Sonmi and believe her to be a god. Marinim, a member of a far more advanced group of people called the Prescients, arrives at the island and starts living with the tribe. She makes friends with Zachary's sister, but he is suspicious of her. Zachary is hiding his own secret though. Zachary is supposed to be a fighter and a warrior, but he had actually let his brother-in-law and his young son get killed by a barbarian tribe, the Konas. Zachary was hidden away scared while they were killed, and the guilt has been haunting him. Marinim has come to the island because she wants to cross the mountains to get to a place called Mana Sol, but no one will take her there because it is believed that the devil lives there. One day, Zachary's niece Katkin is stung by a venomous fish, and since the tribe is underdeveloped, they don't have a cure for the venom. But Zachary has seen the prescience heal diseases before, so he finds Marinim and tells her he will take her to Mana Sol if she saves Katkin. Marinim then saves Katkin and her, and Zachary start their journey to the mountain. During their travel, they almost get caught by the Konas, but they manage to get to Mana Sol. On top of the mountain, they find a large facility, and when they enter, they find skeletons of dead people that has filled the floor. They walk Truff scared and find a room with a statue of Soni. Zachary is surprised to see his god statue in the place of the devil, but this is when Marinim reveals to him that Soni was not actually a god and is actually a revolutionary human that tried to go against an oppressive government and got killed for it. Zachary's world is shattering and his fear intensifies. We then see his inner dark thought that he calls old Georgie appearing behind him and urging him to kill Marinim. But for the first time, Zachary manages to fight off his fear and refuses to kill her. Meanwhile, Marinim finds what she is looking for, and she reveals to Zachary that the world is dying and that all humans, even the prescients, are doomed unless they can reach the off-world colonies. Marinim reveals that the place they are at is the same broadcast facility that Soni used to transmit her manifesto, and she uses the tech to send a broadcast asking for help. Zachary then returns to his village, but he finds it destroyed by the Konas. Everyone in his tribe is dead, and all the Kona appear to be gone. He sees his sister's dead body, then runs to his home to look for Katkin. There he finds one lone barbarian sleeping, and he kills him in rage. He then hears a noise and finds Katkin. At the same time, the barbarians return looking for their member and find his dead body. Zachary and Katkin then try to run away, but they get surrounded by the Konas. But then Marinim comes from behind and using her advanced weapons, she starts taking out the Konas. Zachary then joins her, and they kill all their attackers. He and Katkin then follow Marinim to her ship, and they meet with the other prescients who accept them as their own, and they all wait hoping for the off-world colonies to save them. In the last scene, it's shown that an old Zachary has been telling his tale to his grandchildren. He has been married to Marinim for years now, and it is also shown that the off-world colonies have heard their broadcast and came to rescue the survivors, and they are now on another world entirely. And with that, the movie ends. What do you guys think is the real message in this movie? Let us know in the comments below.